Hello, and welcome to the Tony McClelland Show. Every single week here, talking to you about social impact, justice, and mobility, empowering those social entrepreneurs, and making sure that we leave you feeling inspired and empowered. And this week is absolutely no different because I have a fantastic guest for you, and who is actually rocking LinkedIn. So if you want some LinkedIn tips, this is the person that you need to be following. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Cory Lopes-Warfield, who is absolutely rocking LinkedIn. So welcome, Cory. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Tony. I'm amazing, and it's great to see you and to be here.
I'm really honored and privileged to have you. And you have such a fantastic story to share. So if you're joining us or if you're watching it back later, do put your comments in the chat, and we can make sure that we let Cory know that you're listening in and you're interested in his story. So Cory, tell us, first of all, I just want to say congratulations. You've recently been married, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been just under a year.
Just under a year, because I remember you live streamed it, and I thought, wow, how fantastic is this? You live streamed it, being the social media man that you are. I was watching it live, and I thought it was amazing. So I just want to say congratulations to you and your wife. I think that, congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was interesting. We live streamed it. We got married in northern Brazil in the Amazon. And so we did a little metaverse experience so people could join in the metaverse. And I live streamed because I had people around the world that wanted to witness it that couldn't fly. And we ended up getting tens of thousands of people tuned into the live stream, which was wonderful. But to get way more sentimental and emotional, my father, who couldn't make it, watched from northern Chicago, where he's from, and he passed away just about a month after that. So had he not been able to experience it virtually, it would have been just an extra blow. And the fact that he was there and then he was able to transition after that and reference it and feel like he was, even there vicariously was just amazing. So to me, I love what technology can do to really bring people together. And thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, that was amazing. I was watching afterwards, all the serenading and everything. I thought it was beautiful, and the water, the scenery, and you had all these people, your team around you, and your team in life and in business are also your team. They were your best man, your matron of honor, and all these people. And I thought, wow, it was just amazing. So thank you for allowing us to be a part of your special day, and just sending best wishes to your wife as well. I think it's amazing, and what a poignant story that you share about your father there. So thank you so much for that, Cory. So we've got a few people that have joined us. Let's just say hi. Let's tell us where you are joining us from as well. I know that some people are shy and they lurk in the background, but for the ones that aren't so shy, we've got Elaine. I know Elaine's in London. We've got Marcia, who's over there in DC, Washington. Elaine saying, welcome, Cory. Do follow him. This is the man that you all need to be following. We've got Alicia from North Carolina. Hi, Alicia. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you here. Lamin, thank you. Yes, with another expert as usual. And this one is one that you need to absolutely follow, Lamin. and he's watching from Gambia. We've got Sailor Steve, thank you and hi. Get those questions ready in for Cory. I've only got him here for less than 30 minutes because we have got to finish before the top of the hour. However, you know, maybe he'll commit before the end of the year and to a part 2 because we cannot get your story in 30 minutes. So we've got, you know, Sailor Steve from Canada, and Melody is from Massachusetts, and Marcy's just saying condolences. You know, Cory there. We've also got Jim from Minnesota. Thank you so much, Jim. I know that Jim has been waiting to catch you here as well. So thank you for the message that you sent and for joining us live now. So, Cory, I want to get straight to it, but I really am interested to find out a little bit more about you. What was young Cory like? Well, you know, were you a good little Cory or a not so good little Cory? What's your family like? Where were you born? Tell us a little bit.
Oh, perfect. So I was a pretty good Cory. I was born on the West Coast, and I saw Mount St. Helens erupt when I was 2 years old with my family, and that was enough to prompt us to head back to Chicago, where my father was from. So I moved to Chicago at 2, so I really say I'm from Chicago. Grew up in Chicago. And my family, both of my parents had kind of been hippies, and so they didn't let us watch TV when we were younger, and there was a lot of apprehension there, and they always tried to get us into private schools when they could. So we did Montessori for a while, we did Waldorf for a while. I was always very stubborn, and so when I wanted stuff, I usually found a way to get it, and I wanted to be in public school, and frankly, they couldn't afford private school. You know, my mom would go work at the school so that we could get us kids in there. So I was kind of all over the place as far as that goes, but I loved stamp collecting, and I loved just walking around on my own. I've always been incredibly autonomous, and I must have been probably 10 years old, and I fell in love with rap music and hip hop. And back then it was Ice Cube and NWA, and it was Jungle Brothers, right? Like some of these really early hip hop artists. And so at like 10 and 11 years old, I started rapping, and that was
Are you giving your age away a little bit, Cory?
Oh, I just turned 45. When I don't have the beard, I look a little younger, but at this point, age is just a number. But yeah, 45 years old. But so at like 10 and 11, I started rapping, and that became a big part of my identity. So, you know, I performed on a lot of stages with a lot of my favorite hip hop bands.
Hey, do you know what, Cory? Obviously, you've not been here before, and you don't really want to be telling me about the fact that you rap, because you know what the next bit is going to be. You got to give us something. You got to give us, even if it's just a couple of lines. Come on, Cory. Do we want to hear Cory just to put a couple of lines together for us?
Well, I've got over 100 songs online, and I love to freestyle rap with more of a setup, but sure. As the birds sing, you will wait, conversing with the day. You're emerging from your cave, a person on the way to enlightenment, trying to find God, searching for your inner identity, a bright star, one day to shine down on others and shed light. A wise man once said nothing, he said right, but...
Oh my word, you heard it here first. I don't even think I've heard... Do you ever put anything out on LinkedIn around rapping?
So a few years ago, I actually did the first LinkedIn hip hop collaboration.
You know, everyone, that Cory leaned in because he's about to tell us a little secret here. So you've got to lean in on this one.
So my friend Amadi Mom down in Australia and I did a song with Rob Howes, who's in New York, and Joe Applebaum, and all 4 of us like to rap. And so we did a collaboration called Global Cypher. And it was picked up by Forbes magazine and got tens of millions of views. Wow. It was a lot of fun. But so we've done a few spin-offs since then. Not the 4 of us, but each of us 4 have done a few other stuff on LinkedIn. And actually, I'll tell you a quick funny story. I was just about a year ago, probably a year ago today, Tony. I had just written and recorded a song called LinkedIn's Crypto Guy. I was in Cusco, Peru on vacation. I made the beat, I wrote the lyrics, I produced the song. So I had this song called LinkedIn's Crypto Guy, and I was getting ready to post it. And we were heading out of Cusco to head back to Lima, Peru on a bus. And coming down from Cusco, the mountains are so crazy. And so I went to post this. My friend Anthony James had helped make the video, and he was going to help support this. And we were going to get millions of people hearing and seeing this LinkedIn's Crypto Guy. And I tried to log into my LinkedIn account and I couldn't log into it.
Oh.
And initially I thought it was because of the mountains and the reception and the bus was going so crazy. And about 20 minutes in, I still couldn't log in. So I asked my then fiance, I said, will you go on your LinkedIn app? Now, she doesn't use LinkedIn. I'm her only connection, but she's always very supportive.
Okay.
Because she went on LinkedIn and searched for me and she couldn't find me. And that's when I realized my account had been taken down. And at that point, I had about 250,000 followers. My business all comes to me through LinkedIn.
And you're halfway up a mountain.
Yeah, and it was really devastating. And so I reached out, and I'm not the type to take no for an answer. I let my legal team know immediately, and I started reaching out to people I knew at LinkedIn that I had the email addresses for. And I was really adamant. And so what they told me is that I had posted about crypto some days ago, and that went against their community guidelines and their spam and scams policy. And even though they had just created the policy days or weeks prior, they said because I mentioned crypto in a post that my account was suspended indefinitely and possibly forever. And I was devastated for all of about 2 to 3 minutes, just like I was at the beginning of COVID when I was told I had months only to live. Right? It's like things that happen in your life kind of hits you hard, and then you just decide, no, this is not my narrative. This isn't my truth. So I reached out, and within half an hour, I had my account back up, but they made me promise and sign a piece of paper that said I wouldn't talk about crypto or NFTs on my profile anymore. So here I was, right, an hour after I was supposed to post LinkedIn Crypto Guy, and I put all this time and effort into it. And so that song's never seen the light of day. I said, I better not be known as LinkedIn's Crypto Guy.
You need to really find somewhere else to get this aired, don't you? And when you do, you need to let us know as well. So we missed out there for sure. So thank you so much, Cory, for sharing that. Can I just, I would also love to hear this rap, but can I just take you back? Because you said that you were stamp collecting, and you also said as well that you went into private schools and public schools because your mum was tell us just a little bit about that and your stamp collection. And the no tech to tech guy,
Well, it was interesting. It wasn't no tech, it was no TV. So, no movies, no TV. So I don't get a lot of the pop culture references from the early and mid 80s. But as soon as computers came out, they were all into it. So they got an Apple IIc, and I would play Reading Rabbit and Oregon Trails and Carmen Sandiego and all these kind of old pixelated games. I ended up falling in love with Tetris, and my mother, she and I would be very competitive over Tetris, and I lost my mom a few years ago. So now when I play Tetris, it just reminds me of my mom, and it's like she's there. On the official Tetris app, I was the #1 Tetris account in Chicago when I'm there, and here in Rio. So I'm #1 Tetris player in 2 hemispheres.
So it's amazing, really, and just worth highlighting that you've gone the complete opposite from, being in an environment where there was no tech, almost. It was, no TV, no technical gadgets or anything, to absolutely falling in love with it and almost creating a career out of it and from it. It's absolutely amazing. So you were kind of quite fascinated with all these gadgets and TV and.
So I had ideas 20 years ago about a phone that you could wear on your wrist with an interface. My entire idea was the screensaver could look like a Patek Philippe or a Rolex or an Omega Tag Heuer or whatever you wanted. Then if you push the button, it could show you your emails and the news. That was an idea I had 20 years ago. 30 years ago, I had an idea about a refrigerator that could cook food in the door, basically have different microwaves. And so I've always had these kind of
You were always fantasizing about all these gadgets that you were going to create. So before we move on, though, Cory, I just want to ask you this. Out of that experience of no tech, living in that kind of environment, to being the tech person here now, is there a message about inspiring people or empowering people, in terms of limitations that you can share with anyone that's watching now or anyone that will watch back later on? So what's the key message there before we move on?
The key message is that there's never a right or wrong time to start. And I know we want to move quickly, but I'll qualify that. I ended up getting into a great college on a full academic scholarship and hating it and dropping out after 1 year in 1997. And I had some real dark times for a year or so. I was living on the streets, and I decided to get off the streets by washing dishes at a restaurant. That turned into being a busboy, then a waiter, then a bartender, then a manager. And I spent almost 20 years working in restaurants. I was close to 40 when I had no clue about business or finances or investment or anything like that. And it wasn't until I was in my late 30s and I realized not only was my body completely just done with waiting tables, but I felt like a servant in the castle and it didn't serve my higher purpose. And so I solved a problem in the restaurant industry using data, which is they always change your schedules and tell you might work on Thursday, and right, so you can never predict or forecast your life or your finances. So I started a technology company with zero expertise, zero experience, zero clue what I was doing. And I think this is the message. Very quickly, I had a co-founding team. We got an MVP to market. We ended up raising a bunch of money and scaling that up to dozens of employees and national accounts. And that company took a fairly decent valuation. And that was with someone that had no experience. It started later in life. And, at this point, I've now started a number of technology companies. Our big one's really ambitious. We're going to start.
Really, Cory, it's about using tech to solve problems, wasn't it?
That's it.
Initially in the hospitality industry, which is where you were serving as a waiter. So really, it was just a few years ago. So anyone that's watching here now, what a fantastic inspiration this man is in terms of, it's never too late. And he came from a background of no technology. There was restrictions to absolutely using it to solve problems in the restaurant industry. And there it started. Boom, just like that. So let's hear a few comments from the people that are joining us here now. So, Marcia was saying, way to go for no cost education. I think she was talking about when you were saying about the schooling. Going to follow you from Lamin. Yes, please do, because lots of great content there. And we've got Siobhan who says she wants to follow you. And I've typed his name into the chat, so hopefully she's following you now. Also is saying, oh my gosh, love that, Cory. You were devastated for 2 to 3 minutes. I think that was when you were talking about your rap,
No, my liver disease. I was told at the beginning of COVID I had 2 to 3 months to live.
Oh, wow. Really? Oh, we haven't even got to that yet. We haven't even got to that. So that's really, really interesting. So hold that thought. Thank you for sharing. So Siobhan was also asking, let me know if you too find a platform where they don't censor and cancel as well, because there's so many restrictions. Okay, so let's move on. So in school, you discovered tech. Was that kind of like your main kind of interest? What did you leave school saying, I want to be?
I always wanted to be a famous rapper, and I was also the lead singer and lead guitarist of a punk band for many years. So I would bring in my favorite punk bands from around the world. Some of them ended up getting famous, and we'd book them for shows, and I'd open up for them, and we sold records, and we had fans. So I had this kind of punk rock and hip hop idea where I was going to be a rock star or a hip hop artist, and ultimately that's what got me on the streets for some time.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, in the mid '90s, I was looking at a record deal, and one of the big hip hop magazines at the time featured me, and I had a label that wanted to sign me, and we were talking for months about this record deal, and we were probably getting ready for the contract perspective. And then they kind of went radio silent for a bit, and then they reached out and told me that there was a different guy around my age that was also from the Midwest who was also white, and he had just gotten a record deal. And that at the time he was calling himself Marshall Mathers, now Eminem. But because he had just gotten a deal, they said they couldn't sign me. And it made a lot of sense. And it's interesting that my original rap name was MC Diesel. So I called myself Diesel until Shaquille O'Neal started calling himself MC Diesel. And I had all these amazing people that really helped steer my life in certain directions in a way.
Wow. So fascinating story. And I would never have known that, Cory. So I'm just going to ask you, because I know that we've got probably precious 7 or 8 minutes with you before we conclude. What are your aspirations now about rap and wanting to be that person? Do you still have those deep down?
Oh, I still rap all the time and I have a lot of fun, but I'll tell you, my big project right now is called Uplift, and we're an unconditional basic income project. And we've got 3 pilots that will be launching in South America here, the Caribbean, and then Africa. And obviously we want to go global. India will be another pilot. But so I have this real passion and affinity for Africa, and specifically for Ethiopia, Nigeria, Cameroon. There are certain places where I have a big presence, and certain organizations that I'm involved with. But so Africa has become a huge linchpin of everything that I do. And so I've found a number of hip hop artists in Africa. Some of them are huge there, but not globally. And some aren't huge there yet, but should be. They're amazing. So what I've started to do is bring people into an ecosystem where, rather than needing to be kind of the big famous rapper as an old white guy at this point, I'm looking for the next generation that have great messages, original sounds, and trying to help them out. And I'm a member of the Lyricist Lounge DAO. And the Lyricist Lounge, I grew up listening to all their music. To me, they were really a staple in hip hop. My call here in a few minutes is with the president and founder of that DAO. But I'm using that hopefully as a springboard to get a lot of these African artists to the global stage as well. So I'm still tangential, but at this point, I'm happy to kind of play a supporting role.
Okay, well, do you know what you shared? We were intending one way and it's gone completely the other way. And, I'm absolutely fascinated by this rap piece and the music, the interest in music. And we've got Siobhan, who's saying that she has a passion for Africa too, as an ambassador. You can find Cory on LinkedIn, capture the way that his name is spelled and he's there, or just I will pick it up and put his link in the chat, in the comment chat, because we've only got a few minutes left with Cory. So based on that, Cory, what is the next part of the message that you want to reinforce for anyone that's watching or listening in, and or maybe on the replay, and then we'll move on just for the next few minutes?
Yeah, well, my message at this point is that technology is going to take all of our jobs, and that's fine because it doesn't need our paychecks. So what I'm doing professionally in the worlds that I'm in, we're trying to see how we can use technology to give everybody a livable income, even if they don't have a job. And we talk about universal basic income, but we're looking at that more as an unconditional, no judgment. We don't need people to qualify. We don't care where people spend their money, but we believe that technology can provide a capacity and a faculty that can provide everyone on earth with money. And if that's the case, then who cares if it takes our jobs? It's just going to do them for us and do it better than we probably could.
Wow, that is exactly where we need to be going. We need to be getting deep into this technology. Where is it going? Chat GPT, all of this is, and I know that it's an area that you know lots about. So Siobhan's saying I need to connect to my twin. I'm assuming that that's you, Cory. Said a few things that resonate really, really well there. We've got Adama, who's saying good morning, and we've got Matthew Cox, that is a fantastic inspiration for me personally as I looking to do something similar currently in Birmingham, UK. So, he's the person you need to reach out to, connect with him. He's very open to helping. And if you look at some of his content, he's always offering great tips for everybody. Melodies here, you can do anything you set your mind to do. Our only limitations are what we set for ourselves. You are a shining example of that, Cory. Great feedback there. And I just want to kind of add in and just really throw in the fact that if you want positive things to come into your life, then first you have got to believe and then be open to receive. You've got to have those arms open. And Siobhan's also saying that her mum started at age 80, so it's not too late. Walked first red carpet as a movie star. Wow. Maybe we need to get you in this hot seat and find out a little bit about that, Siobhan. But anyway, Cory's got to go in about 3 minutes. And in that 3 minutes, I know that he has a fabulous story to share about being on LinkedIn. I personally has watched your journey over the last few years. And I can remember when you were doing things around mentoring you. You built up 100,000 followers. And now you're at 500,000 followers. And we all want to know how to rock LinkedIn. You've obviously got this sorted in terms of tech. How are you going to spend the next 3 minutes with us, Cory, giving us a little flavor of that before we come back for part 2?
I'm going to try to convince my 3.5-hour masterclass video that I sell in 3 minutes instead for free here. So the most important thing by orders of magnitude is optimizing your headline. It needs to grab attention, and it needs to let people know immediately what your superpower is and why they should care. In other words, it should not be anything they've ever seen before. The first good headline I wrote for myself was I create LinkedIn influencers, and that headline, I created the headline, went to bed, woke up with 3 leads in my inbox that converted to a couple $1,000s. That, to me, by orders of magnitude, is the most important. Once you've optimized a headline in your profile, it's really easy to go viral. You just post when other people aren't. You support other people so that they want to support you. This is the law of reciprocity. And then the biggest thing with content, speak with your audience, not at them. Everybody else on LinkedIn is speaking at their audience. They're showing up saying, hey, let me teach you something. Well, that's kind of condescending, and people aren't on LinkedIn to learn anything.
Yeah.
If you want to learn, you go to Google, you go to YouTube, you go to ChatGPT now, right? So it's understanding the audience. And if you become one of the few people that speak with, not at your audience, and stop trying to educate people, stop trying to sell people stuff, right? People will inherently come to you and they'll see what you're selling. And if it resonates with them, if it adds value, if they have budget for it, then they're much more likely to buy it. So really just being there to network and understanding the algorithm.
And share information, because when I first started out, I used to think, oh, I'm not going to give everything. But I realized that by giving, I get more back. You can't hold it back. How do people know that you know anything at all? Unless you share something. So this is the piece as well. And because when I started sharing on LinkedIn, my thing was about, this is my experience. This is what works for me. How does it work for you? Come and share. And I created, my headline was around, I'm a critical friend. Now I know, Cory, no one's going to find me under critical friend for searching, but I know that I'm probably one of the only ones that's got that in their title here on LinkedIn. And there's no one else that's got Tony's Fairy Dust. And quite often they come in my inbox and say, can I have some fairy dust, please? Can I have a bucket full or a shovel full? Or everyone needs a critical friend in their life and I need one. And then they just pour their heart. So, it's 2 prompts. You've got to use what works for you. But I absolutely love the fact that you said, you've got to, reciprocate, give, and your headline. So what a teaser that was, Cory. What a teaser that was. So we've got those comments there. 1 minute. How do you want to conclude, Cory? I know you've got to go, but...
Well, first of all, I would love to do a second part of this show, and I'll make sure that I sign up for this streaming platform so that we can get it to more of my audience as well. But I'm always asked, I have my own podcast, Cory Connects, and at the end of that, I always ask guess what connection means to them. But when it's not my podcast, I've now finished at least 200 podcasts as a guest with this same closing. And I think it's as relevant on every one of those episodes as it will be right now. So I'm always asked what my advice would be to the world or to my future self or my past self or all these things. My only true advice to everyone listening, including myself, is to love more. We can love ourselves more. We can love our neighbors more. We can love our coworkers and bosses more. We can love the people that don't agree with us politically more. We can just love more. We can love nature more. We can love our bodies more and what we put into them and what we feed our mind. And the more love that we bring into this world, the more love there is in this world.
And that's a fantastic message to leave it on. Thank you so much, Cory. Watch out for everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have a message, do drop it in the chat, reach out, follow Cory, and I will let you know when he's going to be back. And on that note, Cory, thank you so much. And that today was your Critical Reflections with your bit of fairy dust. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining, Siobhan, Melody, Adama, Matthew, everybody that's joined today. Who else have we got? Marcia, Jim, all of you that Lamin, all of you, Elaine, all of you that Sailor Steve, all of you that really contributed to this to make it what it is. I really appreciate every single one of you for joining me here every week and contributing. And that was a fabulous guest. And he will be back for part 2 to tell us how he built up his following to 100,000 followers very quickly by reciprocating. And also now he's at a stage where he's using tech, and he has over 500,000 followers. So you need to stay with us and tune into part 2. And on that note, I just want to say you can do anything you want to do, even if it's the first. If it hasn't happened before, it doesn't mean that it can't happen. And there's no reason why you can't be the first to make that happen. And on that note, I just want to say thank you and see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for spending time with me and my guest today on Critical Reflections with your critical friend. Today, you got just a very small sprinkling of Tony's fairy dust. But if you'd like more, then do reach out. For speaking or hosting, it's TonyMcClelland.com. For social impact, social justice, or social mobility, check out our work at firstlifegroup.com. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, feel encouraged, be inspired, be empowered, and make a difference. Bye for now.